like 45 million, and I think the total fund is, I don't know, last time I looked a year or so, it was like 18 or 19 million, something like that. I think, so don't hold me to that, but I think it's something close to that. But based on what we're seeing in this account with Raymond James, because of the market swing for this month, it took us back up. Yeah, it took us back up to 9.9% year-to-date return. So
Okay.
It's going to keep swinging. Of course, we have no idea where it's really going to land up, but that's where we are. So 4.5 to 4.7.
Yeah.
And the 45,000 for the year, that you'll find way back in the activity section is the fees for the year. That's the actual 2% admin fee that the endowment fund takes for managing everything. So, and this is also after all the expenses we pay, like for the visiting professor,
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So,
Dave, year to date is calendar year to date, right?
yes, this is calendar year, from the Raymond James, the account standpoint, yeah. Yeah. I haven't figured out how he get a fiscal year to date out of Raymond James, so.
Okay, well, looks good. I mean, it's still volatile, the market.
Yeah, that's where we are, but, we are just in the process of actually this week, I guess, we finally confirmed it. Johnny and I, a month or so ago, met with, Dr. Jones, who's the new, SBPA dean.
Yes.
And we discussed the program, and at the time she mentioned that they had two open positions at the University of Guam. One was for a full-time professor that's a tenured position, and one was for what they call a practice management or practice professor or something, professor of practice, something like that. Meaning that it's not really a tenured position, but it also is they look to fill it with people who have a lot of practical experience as well as their PhD. So, to my understanding at this point, there were two candidates. The search committee came up with a candidate named Dr. Conrad. And I don't remember all the details, but he's got 20 years worth of experience teaching, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot like Johnson, Dr. Johnson.
Yeah.
And they made an offer, but they don't believe that he wants to come and stay for a full 3 years to earn tenure, et cetera, because he's, I guess, already been teaching 20-something years and he's established where he is. He didn't express a desire to just outright move here. So they came and approached us and asked, would we be willing to accept him as a visiting professor on a 1-year contract? That way, if he comes and stays 1 semester or 2 semesters and leaves, then we haven't invested a lot of money in moving him here and getting, I guess, they have to hire him into GovGuam as UOG, which means they would have to do all of the GovGuam requirements and pay the retirement fund contributions.
Yeah.
It's a much higher investment to do that. And they're not sure that he wants to actually come and live here. He's fine with coming to teach for a year. He said, that's great, but I'm not sure I really want to live there or move there fully, so. John and I discussed it with Dr. Jones, and we figured that it's a better plan. We get the expertise, we get new blood in for the students, and those kind of things, which is the point of the program. And we can do it at this point. I think we're committed to the cost of what we had planned for having a visiting professor for 1 semester, which is about 100,000. I mean, we plan to spend about 200 a year, which is 100 per semester. If we have somebody with a lot of experience come here, like Dr. Johnson did. So the way I understand it at this point, the contract is set so that they hired Dr. Conrad. He's under contract for up to a year. but we're paying him, we're committed to funding him on a semester basis, so I think it's 35,000 per semester. Would be his fee, and then the housing allowance, and instead of actually renting and doing all those things, we just decided to provide the allowance, which is 3,000 a month for housing and 500 a month for transportation.
Okay.
And then it's up to him to do whatever he wants to do.
I think, I'm trying to remember, is it 88? This is the base compensation?
It was,
It was,
but
but
we
they-
negotiated that down a little.
Oh, we did, okay. Which is good.
In light of the housing
Okay.
and transportation allowance, so all total, plus $2,000, I think, for shipping some of his stuff here. So all total, I think, the fund would be on the hook for about 114,000, if he stays the whole year. So that's not a bad deal.
He was starting the spring semester or?
He'll be here within the next week or so and start in
I read a little of the details. He has to commit 3 classes in
Right,
spring
yeah.
and then 4 classes in fall, so.
Yeah,
At
9
minimum,
hours,
minimum.
yeah, 9 hours in spring and 12 hours. in
12 hours,
fall.
yeah.
Where is he
Yeah.
teaching now? Is he teaching somewhere now?
I'm sure he is. I can't
I-
remember. They sent me a
was just
CV.
curious.
but
I didn't get a
don't
chance to
remember
read it,
somewhere.
But
I'm
he-
thinking somewhere.
he was
in the
vetted
Midwest,
by the university, so
Search committee. so.
search committee, which was led by Dr. Chrysostomo. And
There's Doreen and Martha, and they both agreed that they'd rather have him on the 1-year contract to find out what he may come and love it and decide he wants to stay. In which case they could convert him into
Yeah.
the position,
That's what Dr.
but, they both
Jones
felt like
said.
they're not real sure, and they don't wanna invest the extra money, so.
That's
And
a
I
good plan. That's a
find
good
it's,
test drive.
it's a good plan, and we get the guy for a year for half of what we plan to spend. I mean, that's okay with us.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's, consistent with the intent of the program,
Exactly.
right?
Well, that's the way we felt.
Yeah.
Originally, when they approached us, my concern was I don't wanna get into the position of just funding professor positions. I said, well, you guys have the position, is it funded? And it is. But they don't wanna go through the whole process at this point of committing to this guy and then have him leave after 6 months and they're out all the money, so. So I figured that's fine. I mean, and we didn't have anybody lined up at this point, so if we can get the guy for a year and half of what we plan to spend, I think it's a pretty good deal.
So hypothetically, let's say he after 1 year, he wants to stay, so he'll be picked up by the university as a permanent.
Right,
Professor.
they would then hire him for that position.
Yeah, and then we would still try and find a visiting professor anywhere, right?
What does that mean?
It's recording, but the owl's not.
Is the audio recorded?
Audio's recording.
That's fine.
But not the video, it's not following the speaker.
Yeah, okay. Well, the audio will have to do.
Okay.
I don't know how to fix it. It's okay.
Did I touch something though?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Usually just bang it or move it around, it might work.
Let's see what I.
we're still recording. it's
But
not-
anyway, I
Yeah.
assume we'll still continue, right, with
Yeah.
finding another professor just for visiting.
Yeah, at the annual meeting we were at, I ran into 2 or 3 people I have contact information for, and I'm waiting to get their, information from them, and I'm gonna forward that to Dr. Jones and let her deal with, vetting them.
Okay.
There were different levels of people and they seem interested, so. So we'll go that route, at this point, so. I think it's a good deal at this point, We're on for the 114, for the year, but, if the guy turns out well. I also heard that the professor of practice, I think, is gonna go to somebody we know.
Okay,
I think it's in the process of being signed, so.
maybe he still needs convincing.
I don't know. He told me it was in the process of being signed, so. Hopefully we'll see him there, but it's a non-tenured position, so I think it's less of a commitment, so
You can't say who it is, or
I think it's Jason. so.
But,
Yeah.
but it's a good deal. I mean, it's only 114 for the whole year.
Yeah, well,
So-
that was the thing, Dr. Jones was telling me that, his normal salary was over a little around 200, so.
Oh.
You know, I mean, and so he's kind of looking at it as something new for him, but he's
Okay.
already making, they're paying him where he is, he's been making 200, something over 200 a year, so.
Why would he-
And that's typical. I think he's to the point where he's been teaching somewhere. He's been teaching for 20, 25 years already, so. You figure he's probably, you know, later in life, he's looking for a change. Maybe he's ready to retire from where he is.
That's
But he
great,
doesn't
that-
really
yeah,
wanna
If he
quit.
normally fill out,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah,
I'm willing to
yeah.
come to Guam
Yeah.
to this, maybe a lesser load, obviously.
yeah, well, that's kind of what I try to get people enticed with is, you know, I mean, look at the fact, I mean, from their point of view, it's new to them and it's a chance to go somewhere they'd never go otherwise. So, you know, you kind of have a little bit of an incentive to,
Yeah.
we have to be careful with that, because we don't want to be like the people I try to hire in Hawaii who want to just get paid to lay on the beach, so. That used to happen, that's
So
hard.
things are gonna move fast, cause I
Yeah.
think they're expecting him to be here second week of
Right,
January.
he's gonna start teaching the second week of January.
So
Yeah, so, you know, we just keep our eyes open and see what we can find.
It's always good to have multi-language professors.
Yeah, I think the benefit to the students is that they have somebody who's got the experience and the knowledge and can also mentor our staff to
Right.
some extent, you know, so. Helps out. Okay.
Okay, so that's good. Update on the endowment fund, so move on to new business.
New licensees, there's,
Haven't seen anyone from them.
48. Yep, 48. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't have any problems with any of these.
Move to approve.
Okay, so it's approved, this was the applications for licenses,
People from everywhere.
certifications, yes. At least we're still getting more. So I think we're already up, just so everyone knows, we're up to 6,000.
Over
right?
6,000.
Over 6,000 already,
About 6,500.
6,500.
Close to it. So.
Do you
Okay,
need a motion to approve?
oh, sorry, it was already, motion by Francis and approved, seconded by Jenny. Already.
Okay. Okay.
So next
Next
item,
business is the, just the, I don't know if they put
the candidate,
the performance summary. Which is, you know, following the typical trail here. We're number 5 in candidates and sections on a nationwide basis with 40 and 44 on pass rate and average score, which, you know, is basically hanging in there with the trend. Our average score is 70. It's up about a half a point from last quarter, but you know, most of our candidates are foreign, et cetera, et cetera. And, on the whole, though, we've still experienced a big increase in the applicants due to the rush to take BEC by the end of the year and finish things out. This was for the third quarter, and then it shot way up, and then the fourth quarter's up, but or I should say the first quarter next year is up, but not as much. So. But again, our enrolled and other, which is non-degreed at this point, pre-education is 32% versus the nationwide. The nationwide other is 10%. So, and we have 93% foreign address versus nationwide of 16%. So that's typically what makes the biggest difference. But we still had increases in applicants, in the third quarter here and then even through the fourth quarter and, even up to, November, which we'll see, but I know December, January is gonna fall off big time, so. Okay, I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. again, we're number 5, so the only ones ahead of us are the typical, Texas, New York, California, and Illinois. 1 through 4. We wound up with 1,700 candidates, 2,200 sections, so. And a 46% overall pass rate. Our average age is about equal. Our average age used to be 2 to 3 years higher than most of the other jurisdictions, but now it's all averaged out to pretty close to the same,
Yeah,
with a few exceptions. The candidate population is aging also.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
we have more that are approaching 30 in one case,
yeah,
or even over.
yeah, a lot more. There used to be very few that were even above 27.
Yeah. But we were always around 29, where it was the
Yeah.
highest, but now
Yeah.
there's more.
There's some even in the 30s. So. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that?
Well, that's something for me. So the next item, Davis, what is the,
We'll go to the quarterly communications with NASMA. You can flip down through the next couple of pages. This is the board of director meeting from October 27th of NASMA in New York, the highlights. They approved the motion to issue the exposure draft for the UAA model rules revision for peer review, which we covered. So it's in a 60-day comment period that ends next week. So, or the week after, I guess I should say. And then they approved the revision to the continuing professional education standards. AICPA approved the CPE standard revisions this month or last month, November. So now it takes effect as of January 1st, 2024. Most of the revision is relative to the newer group live internet-based or group live virtual. So they made some provision for that. And then the incremental, they changed a few things relative to the incremental CPE, like the 10-minute stuff, the nano CPE, stuff like that. But most of the standard changes were pretty innocuous. They didn't really affect us as much as they might affect some providers and how they calculate credit and things like that. Ken Bishop and Colleen Conrad had met with several outside organizations, including CPA Ireland and AICPA. I know they also met with some Canadian people too. And then Colleen was saying that the cutover, 2 new IT systems, the cutover went well and the projects are complete on time and on budget, which is surprising. Hardly ever happens. And then the exam volume was already 77% higher than the previous year, and that's due to the rush to get done before the new one. And then there's been a lot of people asking for the old candidate performance books that used to be published by NASMA, and you could buy at all the universities. Everybody wanted to know how they did as the school and things like that, but that has not been published for the last few years due to the changes in CPA evolution, and they're trying to get ready for how they'll track the new stuff. They just didn't have a lot of the data they needed to actually continue publishing the thing with all the system changes that are taking place. So that's pretty much, they're planning to start republishing those books, I think, at the end of 2024 and 2025. And then if we skip over, the next one is the July meetings and some of the highlights here. Ken discussed the NASMA's participation with the Financial Accounting Foundation and increased relevance with that group. And the NASMA Legislative and Governmental Affairs has been working with the FAF Legislative Support Staff you know, on the continuing licensing issues of, you know, we need to get rid of licensing came the ARPL things. And they've been meeting with the Accountants Coalition, and the ASCPA Spring Council meeting was where the resolution was presented and passed that stated the AICPA has the role and responsibility to convene and facilitate collaborative discussion inclusive of stakeholders regarding components of licensure, including substantial equivalency. This is the resolution, was the framework for what they call now the National Pipeline Advisory Group, which is mostly AICPA and NASPA people and some state society people. Then they had a recent PCAOB Standards and Emerging Issues Advisory Group meeting that NASMA is now participating in. And they're also held the Auditing Standards Board meeting at the Nashville office of NASMA in May. So NASMA is getting a little bit more immersed into some of the standard setting and the discussion bodies. International relevance, they met with CPA Canada and the two provinces that are disassociating with CPA Canada. So I'm not sure I fully understand the Canada thing, but every province has their own thing. And apparently they had all agreed to something in the past, and that altogether agreement was part of the mutual recognition agreement that the US had with Canada. Excuse me. But since these other two provinces are now disassociating, this whole thing is gonna, the mutual recognition agreement with Canada is gonna stop, become non-existent in the near future. Excuse me. They also had a discussion with the IESBA and the IAASB, which is ethics in auditing standards, for consideration of allowing non-accounting professionals to use its code of professional conduct when providing services pertaining to ESG engagements. I'm not sure why they would want to do that, but I guess it's a function of international development. I don't know. You would think they'd I don't know who's really wanting to use the code of professional conduct if you're not part of IASBA or IASB or under regulations are required to follow the standards. I don't know who the non-accounting professionals are relative to ESG international engagements. It doesn't, I don't know what that means unless they're trying to refer to non-CPA people working in CPA firms that conduct these engagements. It doesn't really, well, at least
it's non-accounting professionals.
right. So it doesn't, yeah, I don't understand that.
Or maybe we're talking about engineers.
Yeah, it's the only kind of thing I can think about, something relative to ESG is what environment, social and governmental, so.
Surveyors.
You know, maybe environmental people, environmental engineers or whatever, I don't know. But it's on an international, these are international standard setters, so it's international ethics issues. And then Colleen provided information about CPACE and the gateway IT projects that are the ones that were completed, I think. The status of outsourcing the managed security service provider program and virtual CISO position. NASMA is looking at the use of AI and LLMs, which is large language models, in the policy regarding the use of the tools before they're implemented. AI and LLMs are going to be a big issue in the near future. So I think there's going to be good and bad coming out of all of that. God knows how it's going to land on us. CPA.
What is it all, stand for?
LLM is a large language model, which is the basis of the database that you use to train AI, like ChatGPT is the AI quote model.
Mhm.
The LLMs are the actual underlying technology that supports how AI actually works. I'll send you an article if you want to read it, but to me, it's interesting, but I read the toothpaste tube, so. But it has to do with, when you say large language model, what you're really talking about is an algorithm, a model of algorithms that analyzes all the data, right? And the real issue with the LLMs is that you have to have data to train it with. And to get the data to train it with, they just scrape up everything they can find on the internet. And then you're supposed to, you know, use that data to train it. Well, you can affect the outcome of an AI model by training and creating an LLM that uses biased sets of data. If you do that, it's only going to come up with certain responses, right? And then the bigger issue at this point is they're starting to see class action lawsuits being filed by the content creators that have had their content scooped up off the internet and used to train all these things like ChatGPT, and there's at least 60 other ones. And they're filing class action lawsuits because they never gave anybody any permission to use their stuff. And a good example, the easiest example to understand is the artistic thing where they create me a flower design based on this guy, because I like that guy, right? He does good stuff, so you put in his name, so the thing goes out, looks at all the stuff this guy did, creates something. Well, this guy who you're trying to emulate from a style standpoint, right? He's created all his content and it may be out there, but that doesn't mean you're entitled to use it to create a derivative work.
Mhm.
Because that's what they consider copyright infringement.
Yeah.
Now they're seeing class action lawsuits about the LLMs and how they were trained and what they were trained with and what they're using currently in creating the output that they come up with. So they're creating content which is derivative from other people's content, which was used to train all the LLMs. It's one of those things, and there's no legal authority on it at this point other than existing copyright law, trademark, stuff like that. And this is a whole new realm for the lawyers, and of course, the law always follows behind this kind of stuff, so there's gonna be a lot of issues with a lot of this stuff in the near future. And then the fact that you can use AI to essentially create all kinds of things which may or may not be real or true or whatever, could generate some real problems in the future. And then you gotta look at it from an auditing standpoint. I think some of the bigger issues, I don't know if you guys have seen any data on it yet, but some of the bigger issues are how are you going to determine whether what you've been provided is real or not? And one example of that is just that, I think we saw one in the news just the other day where some councilwoman put out some speech or something, and there's two organizations that are well-funded and have been in operation now for a few years that will take the content, like the output that the speech that she, gave, they take that output essentially and feed it through their system to determine whether or not it was created by her or was it copied or derived from something else on the internet. And they're the one that came back and said they have like a 99.7 accuracy rate. And said, yeah, it wasn't a speech that she created. It came off of all these other things. So you're gonna have issues in terms of auditing standards and everything else about how you're going to approach using these things and, who can use it and when to use it and I think there's gonna be some real issues in the future. That gonna have to be decided about that, so. But, even today, Microsoft is integrating AI into everything, Windows completely. So you're not gonna be able to get away with it. They're doing something called Copilot. They're doing a Copilot, beta test. You can sign up for it if you want, but, you don't need to sign up for it because if you update your system, you're gonna get it whether you want it or not. And unless you know how to tweak your registry, there's no real way to turn it off. So you can ignore it, but that doesn't mean you can get rid of it. You can't get rid of it. You can't delete it. And it's gonna be built into everything. And every time you do anything with a Microsoft product, it's gonna come up with some kind of suggestion or question, or do you wanna do this, or how about that? And, all kinds of crazy stuff, so. And it's gonna be integrated, these kind of things are gonna be integrated into everything you use and everything you do, so. There's gonna be some legal issues about it along the way.
So it's gonna be more than just correcting a typo.
Oh,
when you're
yeah,
doing a search.
big time.
Did you
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. But don't do like me and search for GBOA and come up with gay bikers on acid. I just searched for GBOA thinking Guam Board of Accountancy website, and I got back a big thing that says gay bikers on acid.
I don't think that-
Really?
I don't think that's AI though,
It's-
that's just regular
It's a,
search
it's a
engine.
band in Germany. Believe it or not, crazy. Anyway, I know there's gonna be some real issues with AI in the future, so. And they're talking about coming up with a policy of how to use it before they implement it. The real problem is that there's so many different uses for it. How do you develop a policy that's effective in the first place?
Yeah, well, it is a big issue, and EY's already, I think we're one of the forefront among the firms, and so with EY's already invested millions.
Mhm.
And we've already, for auditors, we already have our, I guess, similar to Chat GPT, so the only auditors not to be using Chat GPT.
Yeah, oh, you don't wanna
So-
be using it publicly.
They've created, EY has our own, and so we're encouraged to use that, and so we want to. A request for certain information or similar, you use that instead of Chat GPT, because
Yeah.
the danger is that auditors may inadvertently put in client names, other information
Expose
that
privacy data, yeah,
Yeah.
privacy issues, et
privacy
cetera.
issues, so at least it's secured in whatever AI or that we have.
And
going, so.
internal systems, yeah. Yeah,
It's brand new, I haven't really used it yet, so.
yeah, privacy is a whole nother issue when it comes to this kind of stuff, but that's
Yeah.
also part of the class action lawsuits.
Yeah, we're undergoing training right now, so I haven't attended the training yet.
Good luck.
I can stop using ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, I don't wanna use any public, you don't wanna, not for anything that you gotta depend on, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, the evolution, CPA evolution communication plan for 2023 regarding candidate deadline communications, I think, a lot of that has gone out just yesterday. They sent out an email, NASMA sent out an email. I don't know if you guys saw it. It said that this is what we're gonna send to all the candidates today. And it talks about, it has links to the AICPA page where it gives the anticipated score release dates. If you took the exam on between these dates, expect your score on this date, that kind of thing. So they're just trying to advise everybody that, this is gonna be this is what's what, and this is how it's gonna work. So, but typically, they're looking at a 2 months to 2.5 month score release hold. Until they get enough, but they have to get enough data to evaluate the scoring. So that's the real reason for the hold. And then they talk about the pipeline, and the 21 states voted to implement the 30-month conditional credit rule. We're one of those, we're gonna implement it, I just have to get the rules changed, but, and then AICPA and NASMA are working through the MOU with the university, that the project is on track for that experience, learn and earn program. Where they hire you, the CPA firm hires you, you're working a regular job. But we give you time during that period to take these classes, and the classes are actually, I don't know if they're conducted by the university, but they're sanctioned or accredited by the university. So when you finish, you get university credit on a transcript that qualifies for the additional 30-hour credit at a reduced rate. So that's part of the deal there. The Center for the Public Trust now has 54 chapters in operation, and Guam is one of those 54 chapters. And they have more than 5,500 students enrolled in the online certification program. So they're still growing little by little.
They sent some University of Guam students, right?
Right.
What time they're-
Well,
Yeah, every year they have the Student Leadership Conference, and two of the, usually I guess it's the president, vice president, or of the chapter gets to attend, so, and it's all paid for by the CPT, so.
It's good experience for them,
Yeah,
exposure.
yeah, it is, and so far, I think there's been there's at least four students that have gone.
Yeah,
And they've all been very happy with the experience. And the chapter here just had a installation of new officers last Saturday. I got invited to, but I couldn't go. I was watching grandkids. But the CBT services revenue was up 1.2 million over budget due to increases in exam sections and interest earnings, because of course interest rates are up now. And the exam sections are expected to increase through the end of the year, meaning calendar year, but a downward trend is expected in 2024. Well, yeah, we know that. We know that's coming, so. We're gonna have to see how that works out. I'm trying to work on the FY 25 budget, which is due to the legislature next month, but I'm waiting to see the December numbers, because it would give me a little bit of a clue as to how much of a drop we're gonna see in applications. We run over to the Credit Relief Initiative, the history of the concept. This is the amnesty program, the thing that they're, still number of jurisdictions signed on to it and found it to be not as effective as they thought it would be, because they found that a lot of the people that fell into that list of overall, I think it was touted as being 18,000 candidates that were potential to be, reinstated credits. They found that the majority of them only had one credit, just one credit, so they still had 3 more credits to go, and they haven't heard from them. If they had one credit 2 years ago and you haven't heard from them in 2 years, it's highly unlikely that they're gonna come back. You might get a few, but not many. I haven't
or they
heard.
give up steady.
Yeah, in the executive director calls, I have not heard anybody say that they've hit a gold mine of potential new candidates in this program. So no, we did not participate in it. We are extending credits still for people who ask that have a valid reason, if they've tested, within the reasonably recent past, and we tend to look at them and extend them. And then there's the 120, 150 and the legislative related issues, which is the ARPL stuff and the jurisdictions. There are a couple of jurisdictions that are looking at, we should go back to the 120 from the 150, et cetera, et cetera. It's the age old argument. And can explain the concept of universal licensing. The board expressed support for exploring alternative pathways and noted the urgency, but nobody's gonna do anything at this point. There's a couple of states, well, at least one state that actually has a law that's in the legislature waiting to be passed to go back to 120. Then the rest of this executive summary is just basically the focus question answers, stuff about, which we covered before, but did you communicate directly with exam candidates on the new exam? Are you aware of upcoming issues, and how can we help you, that kind of thing. I put this here basically just for documentation purposes. Is part of that communications process thing. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the updates there? If not, then, you can look on in the back here is the meeting schedule, for 2024. So the executive director annual conference is March 25 to 27 in Nashville, so I'll go to that. And then, the next page, the Eastern Region meeting is June 4 to 6 in Kentucky, Louisville. And the Western Region meeting for us is June 25 to 27 in Omaha, Nebraska. If you're interested in attending, they request that you go to the Western Region meeting because that's where we are. But if you're going to be in the States and want to go to Eastern, that's okay too. And then the annual meeting is going to be in Orlando, typically the October 27 to 30. So you can get home in time for Halloween. Of course, we can't, they can't.
Every other time.
So anybody who wants to go to
No.
any of the meetings, let me know. If you want to go, let me know. Work it into your schedule. NASBA pays for the board members to go. Last thing I have is the financial statement here for November. So this is 2 months, October and November, and it's estimated again because the applications we don't really know are through October, but basically we're looking at excess revenues of 20,000 for the first 2 months, and a good bit of that is because we had a excessive applicant revenue in October because of the rush to get done. Our typical applicant revenue is going to somewhere between 10 and 20,000 a month. It was 54,000 in October, so that's the big boost there. But I only budgeted 120,000 for the whole year, so we did 237 last year. So I'm hoping that my 120 is reasonably accurate. Like I said, I'm hoping because I tried to factor in the fact that you take the exam in January, you don't get the grade till April, so you've got like a whole quarter that people are going to just be sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
And they're not,
Be a lull.
I'm sure there's going to be a lull there. But I just can't, nobody knows how much of a lull, so.
I'm sorry, what's the big bump again in the exam fees in 23?
That's the part of the applicants that just kept building since January 2023. It's been building. It got up to 20 to 25,000 a month. We were averaging for the last 6 months up to the end of the year. And then October, the first month of this year, was 54. So, but it was in the 20s for the last 6 months there. So it's almost double what it normally would be on a regular. See, I think 21 was 125, 22 is a pretty reasonable estimate of the 142. So I kind of looked at the two of them and said, with the score holes, let's go for a 120 budget and see what we wind up with, just to be conservative about it. But the individual licensing fees and the certification fees continue to hum along.
Certification is the new license.
Certification is the newly issued licenses, yeah.
Wow.
So we had to drop there in 2023, but then, but then I'm sure there's a surge coming in the next couple of months because of all the people who tried to get done before December, right? And then the individual licensing fees, the renewals continue to hold up at this point. We have a pretty high renewal rate, so.
So the exam fees that are coming in now are for the new format, the ones that came in December.
Yeah, the application revenues we're getting from now on out, all the application revenues, which is exam application fees,
Yeah,
will be for the new exam.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the volume like in December, this month?
We don't
Oh,
know
no,
yet. Yeah, that's, the lag is about 6 weeks
Uh-huh.
to get the data, so, we won't know December until probably the third week of January, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna see right now, if you look on this chart, the latest data we have is October. So hopefully by the end of this month, which is next week, or the first or second week of January,
Yeah,
I'm thinking second week of January, I'll know what happened in November.
I see.
Okay, not December, November. And then by looking at November, then I should have a reasonable idea of what's gonna happen in December, because I know for a fact December is gonna be less than November. So, that's kind of where we're at this point, but I'm thinking for the year, we will basically at least break even. I don't think we'll be down much. And if you notice in our FY 24 budget here, we have 189,892 an endowment contribution. So if you ignore that, we should at least be able to break even or have a little bit of excess revenues, even if we do have a shortfall in total revenues. So, but
There's no budget for any contribution or just small one.
it's just a
189,
whatever
whatever to round it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you take that out, then our expense budget's basically 500.
Okay.
And I'm thinking we'll be okay. We'll probably be less than that. Typically, we're less than that.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where we are, unless anybody has any questions.
Just I'm trying to understand the licensing. So we're completing the CPEs as of December,
Right.
and then we're submit our license application before June 30, 2024.
Correct.
And the licenses that we're going to be issued for this will be FY 2025
Right.
expiration.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm seeing some licenses that I'm signing and it's
Yeah.
FY 2025, so it's people already submitting theirs.
So we continue to have people they come late.
They come late, yeah.
Sometimes 2 years late.
Yeah, I see 2023, 2024, and then
Can I reinstate?
2025.
So we make them pay everything. And if they pay up, then,
Yeah.
and then there's some people who, every January I want to submit my license. I'm like.
So they already completed all
Wait
the
till June.
CPEs,
Right.
and then.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
they'll apply and it'll be for expiration of 2025.
Yeah, it's just like so far into the future, like, oh, it's only November or December 2023, and why am I looking at
Yeah.
a certificate that says expires June 30, 2025?
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
still issuing paper certificates? with this
Yes,
next
yeah.
one?
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that Dave is going to be working on.
I'm working on a request for interest I want to put out, and based
Okay.
on the response we get from them, then we can proceed with an
Make a
RFP.
we're at
If-
6,005
if we
already. So-
Yeah, we don't want to do it manually again. But what I want to look at is the one I was looking at was, I just did mine for Florida, and basically you go online, you fill out your thing, you CPE, you pay your fee, and it emails you a license that you can print, and a PDF of a license you can print.
Mhm.
And it's there's a 2-page thing, and one is that you can print the big one for the frame, and the other one is you can print a little one and cut it out and put it in your wallet. And that way all of our postage fees go away. And typically, as far as I can determine at this point, with some of the information I have, I'm thinking that our postage fees will more than pay for the licensing system. So it's gonna be a net wash, in terms of expenses, but in terms of needing new employees, we won't need any. Because basically you go online, do your own thing. We collect, you pay with a credit card, and everything's done.
But can we still
So
charge
that's
the
an
same?
annual licensing fee, Dave?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cause I'd be going.
Yeah. What was that, Tony?
Is it an annual licensing fee or is it a one-time payment and then smaller?
No,
fee?
No, it's an online system, so it's like a SaaS product. So it's an annual fee.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to get into the thing where you have to buy the systems and the software and all that stuff and then pay maintenance. These guys provide the entire system. There's several of them. They provide the entire system online. You just link it to your website and then you link the credit card payment through and the whole thing just processes and they maintain it and everything. And provide the support for it. So once you get set up.
So they're also processing the payments too.
No, some do and some don't. Some are just a licensing system and they also track CPE and stuff. And then you can link your payment process to their licensing process. It's just a URL. So when you click the button, it goes off to the payment processor.
But we're already taking credit cards, right?
Right, but at this
Manual
point, we do it here. We do it through the PC, but we do it here. We don't have it online for the
But once you go to the
individual.
online renewal, it seems like the payment should be online too.
It will be, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's the whole point, is to get the whole thing online.
Right, right. Otherwise it defeats,
So each
oh, not
license-
defeat, but it's.
Yeah,
it
each
creates
licensee,
the
go
same work.
online, answer your questions, do your thing. When you're, if you fulfill all the requirements, you get approved to pay, and once you pay, you get emailed your license, and you're done. And the payment flows through automatically. So that's what we're looking at.
Was there anything that the manual process with checking, that this automated process would not be able to? No. Are we
Not
looking at
really.
anything?
Well, I mean, we look at the CPE and stuff like that, not for everybody, but for most people in the reporting now. We can easily look at it through the CPE audit
Yeah.
service. It's pretty easy to tell whether you're deficient or not. So,
It's wonderful.
yeah, so they do look at that, but other than the CPE, the questions you answer on the form or, did you do anything that requires a peer review, et cetera, so.
I got 3 more hours needed before 12:31.
Well, we're having class next week.
Yeah. But I'm gonna be on
2
file,
days.
so it's 2 days.
2 days.
I'll find
class, yeah.
3 hours somewhere.
I just got 2 hours of ethics.
Yeah.
That I need.
Yeah,
Did that get sent around the?
yeah, it was emailed, Jason emailed it through the society.
Did you see it on yours as a person? No, I sent it out
You
to all
didn't-
the
yeah,
auditors.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't
yeah.
send it,
I'll send you a copy of the registration
Yeah,
form.
I don't know if anybody in tax needed it.
because there's no tax courses. It's just
Right,
A and A
but-
and then government.
But it's
But we
A&A,
unfortunately
so
have other requirements, so
people
maybe
need
there's a few
A&A,
people
so,
might need it.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy of it.
I haven't seen the registration.
Yeah.
So
Really?
there's it
Oh.
was a note that says next week there's gonna be
No, he sent an
They
email
sent like
just
2 more.
2 days ago, I think.
Oh, really?
That didn't get out to the general.
I'll say, it should be, if you're Guam Society on the email for Guam Society,
Colleen, did you see it?
You didn't get it. I didn't get it.
really. I have to ask Jason about that.
Yeah, I got it.
I got it. Through the
Yeah, not
Guam
going
Society. Did you get it?
Yeah, if I received it like 3 weeks ago, I would have changed my CPE plans, but,
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe my mom society.
Yeah.
Just to be
A
at
little
home, I
late.
didn't know.
Yeah, well,
I've already
we.
pretty much done.
I
We
received a note saying.
we have to
there's
wait
something
on the
happening.
provider
I haven't
Yeah.
seen the
determine when
registration.
Right.
rate is and what courses.
Yeah, and this is in
Maybe I'm not
person,
even a
right?
Guam
Yeah,
society
yeah,
member.
it's a group live.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah, but, yeah, it's 2 days next week of A&A. I'll send everybody a copy of the registration form.
I attended a 4-hour one this morning, 4 to 8 AM. So I've been already working 8
Yeah.
hours.
You do
by
your,
noon.
do your webinar thing, that's how you get your,
Yeah.
I do the webinars, the CPA webinars, they do like 2 or 3 a week. You get an hour and a half.
yeah, they work
Yeah.
off of East Coast time. so
Yeah.
I Started at,
Sick.
12
I
midnight,
do that all
Oh,
the time.
no,
yeah.
I can't do that.
Well, my Kronos meeting starts at 11 PM and goes to 7 AM.
Ridiculous. Do
Yeah,
that.
anyway, unless we have any other questions, that's.
No, I don't
that's
have anything else. I think that was it.
I'm okay at this point.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I guess Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. We'll meet next year.
Yeah.
And so can I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Tolling and seconded by Sean.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
I think it didn't connect because we had it disconnected for so long that,
You didn't test it?
I thought I tested it, but this one, the reason why I didn't test it is because last time we tested it, we didn't know we were recording each other.
Recording
And
yourself?
yeah, and I'm just like, what in the world? So
So it's just voice this time.
this is actually really good
Yeah.
because I'm listening to Arlene's own and it's clear. So there was no any hiccup. It's just the recording of
Just
the
a video,
visual.
just a video.
Yeah.
And the last time we just unplugged it and plugged it back in and that
Yeah, I
was
was
the
gonna say,
fix.
I just turned it on and off and on.